Hare Krishna, Prabhu and Mataji. My name is Deepika and I will be your host for today. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Before we start this session, please allow me to recite the Mangala Charanam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padansa Gana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vineshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are honored today this morning to have the association of a new speaker. Today's speaker joins us from Mumbai, India. My humble obeisances, Your Grace. An electrical engineer who won a gold medal, His Grace decided to use his education to unravel and elaborate the design and structure of the universe as discussed in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. His Grace is a part of the Vedic cosmology team. His Grace teaches various courses at the Bhaktivedanta Academy, including Ishopanishad, Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, to name a few. Let us welcome His Grace Pavaneshwar Das to delve into Srimad Bhagavatam this morning. Over to you, Your Grace.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for inviting me and also for allowing me to share some thoughts on Srimad Bhagavatam. His Grace Nimayala Prabhu has kind of expressed or instructed me to take this class on this particular day. So I would like to discuss something from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. Why I am discussing, I'll let you know at the end of the discussion. So this is about the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam, drawing some parallels between various pastimes that are mentioned in the entire first canto of Bhagavatam. So by going through this presentation, we will see what are the different hardships that went through at the very beginning of the present Kali Yuga in order to help all of us. So few of the things we'll try to understand. Here is a presentation I have prepared for that. With your permission, I would like to use my slideshow so that it will be easy to follow. So Srimad Bhagavata Grantha Avirbhava Varnana, appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the conversation in the Bhagavatam at the very beginning, in the very first chapter, begins with the sages of Naimisharanya requesting Suta Goswami to answer some of the questions they have for the benefit of themselves and for the benefit of people in general, especially for the benefit of the people who are going to be born in the upcoming Kali Yuga. This conversation took place at the very beginning of Kali Yuga, just immediately after the departure of Srila Parikshit Maharaj. That is almost at the very beginning of Kali Yuga. So from that point of view, the answers to their questions is for the benefit of all of us. So in the very first chapter, the sages of Naimisharanya are inquiring from Suta Goswami, requesting that Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne Brahmanye Dharma Vartmani Swam Kastam Aduno Pete Dharmakam Sharanam Gata. Since Lord Krishna, who is Dharma personified, who appeared to rejuvenate the principles of Dharma which are declined because of the so many adharmic kings. Since he disappeared, and when he disappeared, he took along with him Dharma, Jnana, Aishwarya, Vairagya, all the wonderful opulences and all the wonderful qualities. But for now, since Kali Yuga had started, where do we find Dharma? Or in other words, where does Dharma took shelter? Where can we find the principles of Dharma so that by following which we can attain our perfection? So that was the question. So this particular scene, the image which you see, that Lord Krishna, in order to wind up his pastimes, takes all the Yadus to Prabhas. There, by creating some illusion, he makes the Yadus disappear. And then Balram disappears. Then Krishna alone sits underneath a banyan tree. Then Daruka comes. Lord Krishna informs Daruka, so my dear Daruka, please go back to Bet Dwaraka, because I have already shifted all the rest of the elders in the Dwaraka to Bet Dwaraka, because Dwaraka is going to be submerged into the ocean in 7 days. Inform them that all the Yadus departed, Balramji departed, I am also departing. And then Lord Krishna sent his chariot and horses, everything to spiritual world, and sent Daruka to Bet Dwaraka. After he left, then Uddhava comes, Maitreya Rishi comes, Krishna speaks to them for some time, requests Uddhava to go on to Badrikashram to inform the message that Lord Krishna wanted to pass on to the sages of Badrikashram, the entire Uddhava Gita. So Uddhava departs, Maitreya departs. Then the Devatas will come. All the Devatas headed by Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu. They offer prayers. In their prayers, they say that, so my dear Lord, on our request you appeared. You destroyed all the irreligious kings. You re-established the principles of Dharma. So you have already passed 125 years. If you want, you can wind up your pastimes. Then, in the vision of Devatas, Lord Krishna departed in the middle of the night. The moment Lord Krishna departed from the surface of the earth, from the holy place known as Prabhasa, the Dwapara Yuga ended. The next second, the Kali Yuga started. Krishne Sodamopakate Dharma Jnanadibi Saha Kalau Nashta Drisham Esha Puranarko Dunodita. Before this event took place, while Lord Krishna was present, when Yudhishthira Maharaj was ruling from Astinapur, the entire surface of the earth, though it was the end of Dwapara Yuga, the entire atmosphere was surcharged with that of Satya Yuga. The entire area was filled with the atmosphere of Satya Yuga. The Dharma is on 4 full legs completely. Everything is proper. But the instant when Lord Krishna departed, Satya Yuga transformed into Kali Yuga immediately, because Krishna Sabhamopagate Dharma Jnanadibi Saha. When he departed, he took along with him Dharma, Jnana, Aishwarya, Vairagya, everything, all the wonderful qualities are departed along with him. Then the entire atmosphere became completely irreligious. It became completely dark because there is no one to show the right path. people are not interested in following the right path. In order to show us the right path, then the same Krishna again made his appearance in the form of Bhagavata Purana. That is indicated in this verse. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Danyam Swasti Ayanam Mahat. So this Bhagavatam, of course, Lord Krishna himself made his reappearance in the form of Bhagavatam through the hands of Srila Vyasadeva. Chakara Bhagavan Rishi, which talks about the wonderful pastimes of Lord's various avatars, wonderful pastimes of the various devotees of the Lord in relation to various avatars. And it is meant for awarding the highest benefit to the readers, to the followers. Nishreyasaya Lokasya Danyam Swasti Ayanam Mahat, for bestowing the highest benefit to the people of this world. Lord himself made his appearance in the form of Bhagavatam through the hands of Srila Vyasadeva, Bhagavan Rishi. So hearing this, that Lord Krishna made his appearance once again in the form of Bhagavatam through the hands of Srila Vyasadeva, then the sages of Naimisharanya again make an inquiry. They say that, Kasmin Yuge, in which Yuga Srila Vyasadeva compiled this Bhagavatam? Kasmin Yuge Pravrutteyam, where in which Yuga it appeared? Sthaneva, at what place it appeared? Kena Hetuna, for what purpose? What was the reason for the appearance of Bhagavatam? Or what was the reason for Vyasadeva to compile the Bhagavatam? Kuta Sanchodita, who inspired him to write the Bhagavatam? Krishna, Srila Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, Kritavan Samhitam Muni, Krishna Dvaipayana Muni, when he wrote this Bhagavatam, where he wrote this Bhagavatam, for what reason he wrote this Bhagavatam, and under whose inspiration he wrote this Bhagavatam. So these are some of the inquiries at the beginning, at the very beginning of the 4th chapter by the sages of Naimisharanya. So in order to answer that, Srila Goswami elaborately explains the appearance of Bhagavatam through the hands of Srila Vyasadeva. Dvapare samanu prapte tritiye yuga paryaye jata parasharad yogi vasavyam kalaya hare. It is said that Srila Vyasadeva was born by Parashara. He appeared as the son of Parashara through the womb of Satyavati during the beginning of the last Sandhya period of Dwapara Yuga. A Yuga has been divided into 3 parts. One is morning Sandhya, and the third one is the evening Sandhya, and in between is the Yuga time period. So at the very beginning of the evening Sandhya, ending Sandhya, Srila Vyasadeva appeared as the son of Parashara through the womb of Satyavati. During the Dwapara Yuga, the 28th Chaturyuga cycle arrived in the passing of the Yugas. So, Kasmin Yuga, in 20th Chaturyuga, during the 3rd part of the Dwapara Yuga, Srila Vyasadeva appeared as the son of Parashara and Satyavati. And of course, he was there in the entire Mahabharata, but as it is mentioned earlier, after the disappearance of Lord Krishna, after Kali Yuga made his entry and started influencing people to become attracted to irreligious activities, as adharma was spreading everywhere, Vyasadeva, though situated in his own ashram in Badrikashram, he could observe, he could understand what's happening all around. Immediately after the disappearance of Lord Krishna, everything is manifesting by the influence of Kali. So what all happening? Paravarajnasa rishi kalena avyakta ramasa yugadharma vetikaram praptam bhuvi yuge yugi. Upon the advent of Kali Yuga, after the disappearance of Lord Krishna, Vyasadeva observed by his spiritual eye that the dharmas for the yugas have been destroyed on the earth, yuga after yuga. In Satya Yuga, dharma was complete. By the time Treta Yuga came, dharma was 3/4. Dwapara Yuga 2/4. Kali Yuga 1/4, and slowly, gradually diminishing that also. So the dharmas for the yugas have been destroyed on earth, yuga after yuga, by the invisible force of time. Everything is happening by the force of time. That the bodies are decreased in ability. What are the symptoms of appearance of Kali Yuga? The bodily strength is decreased, the bodily ability is decreased, and the people who are devoid of faith, people have no faith in the Vedic literature, people have no faith in Dharma. They are dominated by Rajas and Tamas. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, Lord Krishna talks about the understanding of the people in 3 different modes. In the mode of goodness, people have complete faith, complete understanding that what is Dharma and what is Adharma. In the mode of passion, they are doubtful, they are confused. What is Dharma, what is Adharma? Sometimes they think like this, otherwise opposite. But in Kali Yuga, in the mode of ignorant, they are pakka, they are clear. Their understanding is Dharma is Adharma, Adharma is Dharma. It is like that. So, based on these 3 modes, we can also understand which mode is prominent in the 4 yugas. In Satya Yuga, the mode of goodness is prominent. In Treta Yuga, the mode of passion plus mode of goodness are prominent. In Dwapara Yuga, the mode of passion and mode of ignorance are prominent. In Kali Yuga, the mode of ignorance is only prominent. So we can understand from this point of view that since Kali Yuga is predominated by mode of ignorance, people in general are firmly convinced that Adharma is Dharma, Dharma is Adharma. There is no doubt about it. We can really watch for it. We can see in our surrounding that the people who are devoid of faith, they don't have any faith in the Vedic literatures. They don't have any faith in the representatives of the Supreme Lord, because the people in general are dominated by Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And they are, when it comes to spiritual subject matter, they are completely dull-witted. They are not at all interested. And their lifespan is very less. Gradually it will decrease. Kali Yuga starts with 100 years of lifespan. It ends with 10 years of lifespan. By the end of Kali Yuga, our lifespan will become reduced to 10 years. They are short-lived and filled with misfortune, mandabhagya. People of Kali Yuga are always filled with misfortune. Even though if somebody is interested in spiritual activities, they will not come to right association. They are misguided by the wrong association. Then Vyasadeva began to contemplate on what would be beneficial for all the varnas and ashramas. So what is the beneficial thing for the varnas and ashramas? Thinking that, Vasudeva was contemplating. The moment Lord Krishna departed, Kali Yuga began. So according to the astrologers, they say that during the midnight of February 18th, some say February 20th, 3102 BC, Kali Yuga began. This is according to astronomical calculation when Lord Krishna departed and when Kali Yuga began the next instant. 3102 years before Christ. And we have now 2022 years. So 2022 plus 3102. That will be the total number of years have passed in Kali Yuga. So I have prepared these slides long back in many few years back. So that's why we see that 5120 years back, approximately round figure is this much. So Lord Krishna departed during on February Friday early morning at 2:27 a.m. That's what it is written in Prabhas. It is mentioned in Prabhas. On 18th February of English calendar in the year 3102 BC at 2:27:30 hours. This is as per many of the astrologers. So this marks the beginning of Kali Yuga. So Vasudeva considered that Vedic rites consisting of Dharma, Artha, Kama were purifying for the all people who were not qualified for Jnana, Yoga and Bhakti. And those people who are not inclined to follow Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti, for their benefit, for the purification of their existence, Srila Vasudeva compiled Vedas consisting of are teaching, the Vedas that teach about how to follow dharma, how to attain artha and kama in a bona fide way for their benefit and for their purification. So Vyasadeva compiled the 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharvana Veda. Though Vedic knowledge was one body of literature previously, he divided into 4 parts known as Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva, consisting of all the prescriptions about Hota, Udgata, Advaryu and Brahma, so that the people in general can continue the performance of sacrifice for their own beneficial benefit and for their purification. So with that intention, Srila Vyasadeva compiled the 4 Vedas. Then he compiled Mahabharata for the benefit of the women, the Shudra class of people and the Dvija Bandhus, though who are born in the Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmana community, but who have not attained the necessary qualification so that they will be able to perform the Varna duties of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. They are called as Dvija Bandhus, who are not qualified to hear the Vedas. So these people are not qualified to hear the Vedas. The Dvija Bandhu, Shudras and women, it is said that they were not qualified to hear the Vedas. For their sadhana, for their benefit, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Mahabharata and Ramayana, such kind of itihasas. Because itihasas are nothing but they talk about the principles of the 4 Vedas, the sadhanas of the 4 Vedas by quoting examples. Because Vedas talk about sutras, very difficult to understand the meaning of the Vedas. But for a people in general, if we tell the same principle with the help of a story, we can understand easily. So Ramayana teaches us how to follow the instructions of the Vedas by the lifestyle of the Suryavamshi personalities, different Suryavamshi personalities coming from the beginning Ishwaku, especially the stories of Lord Sri Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna, Mother Sita, Urmila, Mitravinda and other name I don't know. So the 4 queens, how they performed their respective duties. So like that, by reading through all these activities of all these great personalities, we can understand how to live our life. And Mahabharata, we can understand from the lifestyle of Pandavas, Draupadi, Subhadra, all these wonderful personalities, we can understand how to live in this material world, how to attain perfection. They are also following the principles of the Vedas only, but by reading Mahabharata and Ramayana, we understand examples of all these wonderful devotees so that we can implement in our life, people in general. So that is the end. That is the way. And for those people who are qualified for the practice of jnana and yoga with the intention to attain moksha, for their benefit, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Vedanta Sutra, which is the essence of the Upanishads. In order to direct the jnanis and yogis, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Vedanta Sutra, following which they can attain moksha very easily. And then Vyasadeva also compiled the histories and Puranas, which are called as the Fifth Veda, which explain the meaning of the 4 Vedas with examples. Examples such as Pandavas, examples such as Lord Rama himself, examples such as Dhruva, Prahlada, Ambarish, for those who are qualified for bhakti. For all of our benefit, who would like to follow bhakti, who would like to practice bhakti, who would like to come back to Godhead, for our benefit, Srila Vyasadeva compiled the histories such as Ramayana, Mahabharata and the Puranas, so that we can attain perfection. Though he had compiled all these different variety of Vedic literatures for the welfare of all human beings, his heart was not satisfied with all of that. He was not at all completely satisfied. Though he has done monumental tasks by compiling all these Vedic literatures, he was not at all happy. So when he was thinking like that, Narada Muni arrives there. Srila Vyasadeva inquires from Narada Muni, my dear sir, please tell me why I am not satisfied. I have done so many I went through so many hardships for compiling all these Vedic literatures, but I am not satisfied at heart. Please tell me what is the reason. Then Narada Muni says that Bhavata nudita prayam yasho bhagavato amalam enai vaso na tushyeta manne tad darshanam kilam. So my dear Vasa, you have compiled 4 Vedas, Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Ramayana, Mahabharat, Puranas, ending with Brahma Sutras or Vedanta Sutra. But the reason that you are not completely satisfied is Bhavata Anudita Prayam Esho Bhagavato Amalam. You are not sufficiently glorified the spotless glories of Supreme Lord through all these Vedic literatures. You have not established the superior position of Bhagavan's form above all other forms, and the supreme attractiveness of his pastimes, and the supreme attractive position of bhakti that can attract even Krishna also, Sri Krishna, Krishna. These things you are not explained elaborately in your compilations. Then Vyasadeva says that, no, but I have produced the Brahma Mimamsa scriptures, the Vedanta Darshana, establishing the position of the supreme absolute truth, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Vadantita Tattva Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan Shabdate. I have established Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, the supreme position of all these 3 features of absolute truth through Vedanta Darshana. Then Narada Muni says that I consider that Darshana scripture to be deficient. You are the writer of the Vedanta, and if your mind is dissatisfied with this, then how will those who continually study this Darshana be satisfied? You yourself are the proof that this Darshana is insufficient. Manne tad darshanam kilam. It is not sufficient to bring satisfaction to you and to the readers. If you yourself as the compiler not satisfied, then what to speak of the readers? How will they be satisfied? But I have described the wonderful qualities and pastimes of the Lord in Padma Purana, in Vishnu Purana, in Garuda Purana, in so many other Puranas as well. Then Narada Muni says, Yata Dharmadayas Charta Muni Varyanu Kirtita Natata Vasudevasya Mahimai Anuvarnita. So my dear Narada, though you have glorified the wonderful qualities, activities and about the nature of bhakti in other scriptures, but you have not glorified that to the extent you have glorified Dharmartha Kama Moksha. You have given more weightage to Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, not to Bhakti and Bhagavan. Na tata Vasudevasya Mahimai Anuvarnita. You have not glorified the Mahima of Vasudeva and Mahima of Bhakti to that extent. Though Vasudeva is the crest jewel of human goals, you have not described him as the goal of human endeavor. You have always talked about 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha only. You have not talked about the Panchama Purushartha, Bhakti and Bhagavan, the Prema. Though you have described the glories of Krishna abundantly in many places, they have been described as means of getting moksha. Though you have talked about Bhakti and Bhagavan here and there, but you have talked about Bhakti as by practicing Bhakti, the Nishkama Karmis, Jnanis and Yogis only attain moksha. For the purpose of attaining moksha, you told them to practice Bhakti, but not to attain unalloyed Prema. So that is the problem with you. How can your mind be satisfied when there is lack of regard for that which should have been given the most regard? So you yourself have not given highest regard to Bhakti and Bhagavan, then how can you be happy? But I have described Bhakti to be the higher than liberation in many places in other scriptures. But I have mentioned about the glorious position of Bhakti in Vishnu Purana, Padma Purana and other Puranas. But you have not done so repeatedly. You have mentioned, yes, I do agree that you said Bhakti is great, but once in a while, after reading 1 or 2 skandhas, once it is said Bhakti is glorious, Bhakti is topmost, but one forgets. But rest of the skandha is talking about Dharmartha Kama Moksha. Who will remember the glorious position of Bhakti? Therefore, you must so repeat. You have not done so repeatedly. You must do so, because it is said that the meaning of scriptures is revealed by repetition. The people of Kali Yuga are so less intelligent, they cannot understand if it is said only once. You should tell it repeatedly. It is only by hearing repeatedly, it is only by understanding it repeatedly, people of Kali Yuga will understand it. By doing so, your mind will be satisfied only when you describe very clearly with the repetition of the glories of the Lord, since they alone are finally the most excellent. Though you have compiled so many scriptures glorifying Dharmartha Kama Moksha, they are not excellent. You should compile a scripture consisting of the repetition of the glories of the Supreme Lord, repetition of the glories of Bhakti. That is the most excellent. Explain his glories, by which the curiosity of those who are already having so much knowledge will be satisfied. The wise do not consider that there is any other way to destroy all afflictions of one tormented by suffering. Only by reading through a scripture consisting of the repeated glorification, one will understand that other than bhakti, there is no other way. Therefore, my dear Narada, my dear Vyasa, please compile a scripture consisting of repeated glorification of the Supreme Lord's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. Because this is the only solution for the people of Kali Yuga. Why? Etaddi atura chittanam matra sparshecha yamahu bhavasindhu plavo drushta haricharyanu varnanam. Etaddi atura chittanam, the people of Kali Yuga, they are always in anxiety in order to have more and more sense gratification. They wanted to enjoy the 5 sense objects again and again. The Shabda, Rupa, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. This is what the enjoyment is all about in the material world. So, Matra, Sparsha, Ichaya, Muhu. Not once. They want to have the enjoyment of these 5 Tanmatras, 5 sense objects again and again. As a result of that, they are drowning in the ocean of material existence. The only way out of this ocean of material existence is getting into the boat of bhakti. Bhavasindhu plavo drushto. Because I personally witnessed in my previous life, I was the son of a maid servant. But by hearing about bhakti from the Bhakti Vedantas and by following bhakti as per their instructions, I have become what I am today. I have become one of the eternal associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is my personal example. Same way, anyone who hears about Bhagavan from the pure devotees and follows the teachings of Bhakti, they will also become the Supreme Lord's eternal associates. Therefore, my dear Vyasa, Haricharya Anuvarnanam, please write a scripture consisting of the wonderful pastimes of Lord Hari repeatedly. The glories of Lord Hari, glories of Bhakti repeatedly. Anuvarnanam, describe it repeatedly, not once. Because Kirtana is the main anga out of many angas of Bhakti, it is mentioned. However, the statement should mean that all angas of Bhakti will be effective. So Anuvarnanam means from your point of view, describe it in the form of a book, by hearing which, by reading which, by following which, the people of this world can be benefited. So Bhakti consists of all, Shravanam, Kirtanam, everything. But here, from the point of view of Vyasadeva, writing, from our point of view, hearing is indicated. Why? Because the other processes which are indicated in the Vedic literature, such as Sakama Karma, Nishkama Karma, Jnana, Ashtanga Yoga, they do not offer that much benefit which is offered by Bhakti. Yamadibir Yoga Pate Kama Lobo Hato Muhu Mukunda Sevaya Yadvat Tatatmadda Na Samyati. So a person who is afflicted by Kama, Krodha, Loba, Madamoha, Masara cannot be satisfied at heart or cannot give up the material attachment by the practice of Sakama Karma, Nishkama Karma, Jnana and Ashtanga Yoga to the extent by taking shelter of Lord's lotus feet, by the direct service to Lord Mukunda. Because yoga and other process without bhakti are futile. Though it is ascertained that the state of bhakti is real liberation, yoga and jnana mixed with bhakti will not pacify the atma as much as pure bhakti. Thus, the state of bhakti is the real liberation. Yoga and jnana mixed with bhakti will not pacify the atma as much as pure bhakti does. It is only by the practice of pure bhakti a conditioned living entity can be completely satisfied, not by the practice of karma, jnana or yoga. because yoga and other processes without bhakti are useless. They cannot even award their respective benedictions. So thus Narada had instructed Vyasa to remember the pastimes of the Lord continually in Samadhi. Having heard these instructions, Vyasadeva sat in meditation and concentrated using his mind. Having instructed thus, then one fine morning, after performing morning oblation, sitting on the bank of Saraswati river in Badrikashram, Vyasadeva began to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In his meditation, Vyasadeva saw Lord Krishna, accompanied by all his associates, all his potencies. Then, standing behind Lord Krishna, looking on the other side of Lord Krishna, Maya is stood. Maya Devi is stood there. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite amale apashyat purusham purnam mayam cha tad apashrayam. Then in his meditation, Vyasadeva saw Lord Krishna along with all associates, his abode, and all the principal energies serving him, surrounding him. But Maya Devi alone, standing behind Krishna, facing on the opposite side. If Krishna is standing this side, facing this side, and Maya is standing here, facing this side. So that's what he also saw. So here Maya is there. So why did Vyasadeva saw Maya also along with Krishna? The reason is unless until Vyasadeva understands what is the problem in this material world, he cannot prescribe the suitable means for the benefit of people of Kali Yuga. Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartam tatkrutam chabipadyate. Because the conditioned living entities who are standing, who are taking shelter of Maya Devi, who is standing behind Lord Krishna facing other side, they consider their body made up of three modes to be themselves and perform all the variety of activities only for the benefit of that body, not for the benefit of real Atma. So because of that reason, Srila Vyasadeva saw Maya Devi, who is standing behind Lord Krishna. So, being bewildered by that Maya, the living entities in this material world thinking themselves to be made up of the gross body and subtle body. They are identifying themselves to be gross body and subtle body. This identification is the cause of all troubles. This identification is the cause of one's bondage in the material world. Then, one who is in trouble, how can the jiva afflicted by the material miseries can taste the sweetness which is necessary for beginning to learn Srimad Bhagavatam? There can be no prescription for cure without first seeing the disease. The disease of the people of Kali Yuga is our identity with the material body. First Vyasadeva saw that. Then, in order to bring us out of that bewilderment, in order to bring us out of that misidentification, in order to benefit us to the highest extent, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. Anartha upashamanam sakshat bhakti yogam adokshaje lokasya ajanato vidvam chakre shashvata samhita. Then, seeing bhakti yoga is the only right means, the right prescription which can effectively destroy the samsara of the material living entities, the material existence of the living entities. Then, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Bhagavatam for the benefit of the ignorant people of this material world. So this is how, seeing all these things, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Vyasadeva saw the Supreme Lord, the Bhakti, the chief element of which is the chief element of the Chit Shakti, Lord's internal potency, which is more powerful than all others, and which can destroy the illusion caused by Maya, and which arises from the actions of Lord's Anugraha Shakti, and which controls even the Lord. Bhakti even controlled the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna Akarshanishasa. Having seen all this, he then wrote the Vaishnava scripture called Srimad Bhagavatam, which reveals all of this for the ignorant people. By Srimad Bhagavatam, all of us can understand what is what, all of us can understand who we really are, all of us can understand what we are supposed to do, what we are not supposed to do. So that is also mentioned in the next verse. Yasyam vai shruyamanayam Krishne parama purushe bhakti rutpadyate pumsha shoka moha bhayapaha. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing means after hearing, one should follow all other things. After hearing, there will be kirtanam, then there will be smaranam, there will be padasevanam, archanam, dasyam, sakyam, atmanivedanam. All things will happen. All things will follow after hearing. By doing all these things, prema bhakti will manifest in the heart of the hearer of the Bhagavatam. By the way, as a byproduct, as a secondary results, this hearing of Bhagavatam will also destroy the lamentation, illusion, and fear in the human beings. Simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, prema arises. Then what to speak of the greater effect if one engages others in hearing it? By ourselves hearing Bhagavatam, it brings us this benefit. Then if we can invite someone to hear Bhagavatam, they will also get benefit and we get double benefit. Then what greater effect speaking it must have? By hearing we benefited, by inviting someone both of us get benefited, by speaking Bhagavatam many people will get benefited. And what even greater effect will engage others in speaking it produce? And then by organizing a satsang program wherein many people come to hear and some people come to speak. So the organizer will get the greatest benefit. That is the understanding. So these are different ways of attaining benefit of taking shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hearing, inviting someone to hear, speaking, and inviting many to hear and someone to speak. Basically organizing a big program for the benefit of large community of devotees. That brings greatest benefit. So in that way. Sa samhitam bhagavatim krutvanukramya chatmajam sukam adhyapayam asa nivritti nidara munim. Though previously Vyasadeva already compiled the 18 Puranas, one among them was known as Bhagavatam. But after being instructed by Srila Narada Muni, Srila Vyasadeva edited that Bhagavatam, giving prominence to Bhakti and Bhagavan, and repeating the glories of Bhakti and Bhagavan. He recompiled or edited the previous compiled Bhagavatam and made it as Srimad Bhagavatam. Eventually he taught this Srimad Bhagavatam to his son Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Though Vyasadeva already compiled Bhagavatam as part of the 18 Puranas, by the instructions of Narada Muni, he edited it, giving prominence to Bhakti and Bhagavan. It is said that Bhagavatam contains in total 100 pastimes, and all the 100 pastimes conclude with the glories of Bhakti and Bhagavan. That is the greatness of Srimad Bhagavatam. So after the departure of Lord Krishna, Srila Vyasadeva compiled all the Vedic literature. Srila Vyasadeva felt distress. Srila Vyasadeva saw the anomalies all over the world. He felt distress. Then he compiled all the Vedic literatures and he was not happy. Then Narada Muni came and instructed him. Then Vyasadeva compiled Bhagavatam. By the compilation of Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva was completely satisfied. And this is the last scripture compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. So this is how Srimad Bhagavatam appeared through the via medium of Srila Vyasadeva. So it is like that. So this is all happening on one side. There is one more connecting story to it. I'll quickly summarize that story so that we can see both the stories in connection. So when Lord Krishna went to Hastinapur as a Shanti Duta in order to reconcile the matter between Pandavas and Kauravas, Duryodhana did not agree to the reconciliation, the Shanti. Then Lord Krishna said, war is inevitable, come to Kurukshetra, we'll go. In the night, Dhritarashtra called Vidura for a good counsel so that the war can be avoided. Vidura told, you arrest Duryodhana so that at least you arrest Duryodhana and kill him You will be left with 99 sons. Duryodhana said, what audacity do you have? We have been taking care of you, and you are speaking for our bad fortune. I would like to kill you, but since you have served us, I'll let you go away with your breath. So he insulted Vidura, saying that you are a son of a kept mistress, you are a son of a Shudrani. Then, unable to accept all these things, Vidura, understanding it as the will of the Lord, he left Hastinapur. He went on pilgrimage places here and there. He traveled to many places. He eventually came to Prabhas, where he heard that the Yadus and Lord Krishna departed from the surface of the earth. Then he went to Vrindavan. At the same time, having heard from Lord Krishna, Uddhava, having heard from Lord Krishna at Prabhas only, Uddhava also came to Vrindavan on his way to Badrikashram. That is where Vidura and Uddhava met and spoke about Lord Krishna for the entire night. And Vidura wanted to hear more about Lord Krishna's activities. Then Uddhava directed Vidura to Maitreya Rishi. This is Uddhava and this is Maitreya. And with Uddhava went to Badrikashram and Maitreya went to Haridwar. Searching after Maitreya, Vidura also went to Haridwar. In Haridwar, Vidura heard the entire Bhagavatam from Maitreya Rishi, and their conversation is recorded in the form of Vishnu Purana. Having heard that, he came to Hastinapur and he instructed Dhritarashtra to leave from home and attain perfection. Then, following the instructions of Vidura, Dhritarashtra and Gandhara leave Hastinapur and then going to Himalayas, invoking fire, practicing Ashtanga Yoga. They attain perfection. And then Vidura also departs. That was the time when Yudhishthira Maharaj feeling sad. Narada Muni comes and consoles him. What will happen, he tells. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj sends Arjuna to Dwaraka. By the time Arjuna went to Dwaraka, all the Dwaraka Vasis already left. Of course, the main Yadus, the men went to Prabhat, they killed among each other, they died. When Daruka brought the news to Bed Dwaraka, Vasudeva, Devaki, and all the elderly men headed by Ugrasena, they all left their bodies immediately. Except the queens of the Yadavas remaining all died. Then Arjuna went there, he performed final rites. In the final rites, all the queens of all the Yadavas entered into funeral rites. Lord Krishna's 8 wives, Balram's, all the many wives, they all entered into funeral fire. Except the 16,100 wives of Lord Krishna, remaining all departed. Few more. Arjuna made Vajranab, great grandson of Lord Krishna, the king of Madura. Then he was bringing all the queens to Hastinapur. In the way, Lord Krishna, coming in the form of cowherds, defeated Arjuna, took those queens from Arjuna and brought them back to Madura and kept them under the care of Vajranab. Arjuna goes to Hastinapur, informs everything that had happened to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Understanding that Lord Krishna departed, Yudhishthira Maharaj starts for Himalayas, and the remaining Pandavas, Draupadi, and others also follow after him. They went back to Godhead. So, but before going, he made Parikshit Maharaj the next king. After becoming the king, Parikshit Maharaj immediately went to Dwaraka to see what all happened. There was no one. Then he went to Madura, wherein he met Vajranab, the new king of Madura. Then he met all the queens of Lord Krishna, 16,100 queens of Lord Krishna, and they were continuously weeping and crying. Both Vajranab and Parikshit Maharaj requested, please tell us what we can do in order to reduce your suffering, your lamentation. They said that we wanted to go to Vrindavan because after visiting Vrindavan, after hearing from gopis about Lord Krishna's various pastimes, Uddhava would always speak to us about Lord's various pastimes. We want to go to Vrindavan to see all those pastime places of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. Then both Vajranab and Parikshit Maharaj escorted all the gopis all the queens to Vrindavan. On the way, they met Kalindi. Kalindi was happily flowing. Then the queens requested Kalindi, how can you be happy in the absence of Krishna? And Kalindi said that no, as long as we think of Krishna, we are not separate from Krishna. Do you remember all of you used to hear from Uddhava? Now please go to Uddhava, he is there in Kusum Sarovar. Go and hear from him so that your lamentation will be removed. Then all the queens goes to Kusum Sarovar. They request Uddhava to come out. Uddhava was in the form of Gulmalata there. He comes out. Then he is going to narrate entire Krishna Lila to the queens of Lord Krishna. The entire Vrindavan Lila to the queens of Lord Krishna. But before that, he invites Parikshit Maharaj. So my dear Parikshit, since the time of Krishna's appearance, Kali Yuga made his advent, is troubling everyone. You as the monarch, please go and stop Kali Yuga from influencing the people of this world. Then Parikshit Maharaj said that, no, my dear sir, I want to hear Bhagavatam. How can you make me unfortunate? Then Uddhava said that, no, don't worry. When the right time comes, so Sukadeva Goswami himself will come and speak to you the entire Bhagavatam. But for now, your important duty is to go and protect the entire world being influenced by Kali. He requests Parikshit Maharaj to go and subdue Kali. Then being ordered by Uddhava, Parikshit Maharaj goes to find out where Kali is. In the meantime, Uddhava speaks Bhagavatam for a period of 1 month. So, at the end of the conclusion of Bhagavatam, at the end of the hearing of the entire Bhagavatam for 1 complete month, the 16,100 queens and Vajranav, Lord Krishna personally manifested and he took all the 16,100 queens into his Aprakata Leela and they all transformed into different gopis. Then Lord Krishna, in the association of those 16,100 gopis, performed all the pastimes that they have heard from Uddhava till now in the last 1 month. So the queens now at the part of the pastimes, and Vajranab and Uddhava were witnessing all those pastimes. After showing all the pastimes to Vajranab and Uddhava, Lord Krishna departed along with the queens. Then Vajranab, in order to keep all these pastimes in memory, he installed in those respective pastime places all the deities like Radha Govindji, Radha Gopinath, Radha Madhav, Radha Madan Mohan, and Srinathji deity, Radha Gopal, like that. All these deities were installed by Vajranab at that time after hearing this pastime. And on the other hand, after traveling all over, Parikshit Maharaj found Kali troubling, punishing, beating bull and cow in Kurukshetra. That is where there is elaborate discussion in the first canto. Parikshit Maharaj punishes Kali, saying that you cannot stay in my kingdom. You get out of my kingdom. Then Kali says, no, I cannot go anywhere. Everywhere is your kingdom only. Then Parikshit Maharaj says, you stay only where the adharmic activities are happening. Jutam Panam Sriya Suna Yatra Adharmas Chaturvida. Wherever these 4 kinds of sinful activities are happening, the meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex and gambling, you stay there only. Then Kali said, no, these places are not there in your kingdom. Then Parikshit Maharaj said that wherever the money is stored excessively, the money is collected illegal means, you stay there. So giving all these permissions, Parikshit Maharaj punished Kali. So in this way, we have seen that 3 things are happening. On one side, in Badrikashram on the bank of Saraswati, Vyasadeva was compiling Bhagavatam after the instructions of Narada Muni. On the other side, Parikshit Maharaj is punishing Kali in Kurukshetra. On the other side, Uddhava speaking Bhagavatam to the queens on the bank of Yamuna in Vrindavan in Govardhan at a place known as Uddhava Baitak now. At the culmination of that, Lord Krishna personally manifested and took all the queens into Aprakata Leela. So in one sense, we can see all these 3 pastimes are happening simultaneously. When Lord Krishna departed, Kali made his appearance. Then Vyasadeva compiled all the Vedic literatures. He was not happy because Kali is around. Then Narada's instruction, Vyasadeva compiled Bhagavatam. On the other side, Parikshit Maharaj punished Kali. So while Bhagavatam is manifesting through the hands of Vyasadeva, Kali is punished by Parikshit Maharaj. After giving these 5 places, Parikshit Maharaj made sure that nowhere in the kingdom, Sriyam, Panam, Dhyutam, all these 4 sinful activities are happening. Even the money is stored unnecessarily. So he made sure that there will be no place for Kali. On the other hand, on the bank of Yamuna, Lord Krishna personally made his appearance. and took the queens back to spiritual pastimes. That is because they have heard from Uddhava for 1 month with rapt attention all the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Thus, all these three pastimes are happening simultaneously. That's how we can see that Bhagavatam through the medium of Vyasadeva and Lord Krishna through the medium of Uddhava personally, and Kali is punished by Parikshit Maharaj. All these three happened simultaneously. Later on, Parikshit Maharaj ruled for 25 years. Then Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die in 7 days through the medium of Shringi. Then Sukadeva Goswami came and spoke the entire Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. In that assembly, there was Sutta Goswami. That Sutta Goswami later on went to the sages of Naimisharanya. There he spoke the same Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya. So now, Parikshit Maharaj ruled for 25 years. In those 25 years, there was no Kali. But by entering into the mind of Shringi, by cursing Parikshit Maharaj to die in 7 days, Kali again entered after the death of Parikshit Maharaj. But during the same time, the same Bhagavatam which was only known in the inner circles became public. For the first time in the history, Bhagavatam was publicly spoken by Sutta Goswami, Sir Sukadeva Goswami. To the entire public of the entire universe were assembled there. Every people from the every nook and corner of the entire universe were there. This was the first time Bhagavatam was made public. So in one sense, at the end of the conclusion, we can understand that now we have Bhagavatam on one hand, we have Kali on one hand. It is up to us whom to take shelter. If we take shelter of Bhagavatam, we can be freed from the bad effect of Kali. If we take shelter of Kali, we will never ever understand Bhagavatam. So now we have both the things. So we need to take proper choice. Which one should be our shelter? Which one should be our guiding principle? So with this thought, I just presented in a way the entire summary of the first canto in connection to the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Grace, for that absolutely detailed and easy to understand explanation of the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam and its relevance to us in Kali Yuga, how to find Lord Krishna in this Kali Yuga, even as our consciousness continues to be covered by Maya, and how Bhakti Yoga is the only way for the living entity to destroy the samsara and attain the Supreme Lord. Thank you so much, Your Grace. We will now open the floor for questions. So tech team, please allow either unmuting or writing in the chat box. We will give everybody 30 seconds to either unmute or ask the question via the chat box. Hare Krishna Prabhu, there is a question here which says, what happens to Uddhava?
Yeah. Uddhava, by the instruction, following the instructions of Lord Krishna, he went to Badrika Ashram after the departure of Lord Krishna. He gave instructions to Naranara and Rishi and all the other great sages that are there in the Badrika Ashram. Then he returned from Badrika Ashram. In one form, as per his desire, he transformed himself into Gulmalata in Vrindavan on the bank of Kusum Sarovar. Even today, Uddhava is there in Vrindavan as Gulmalata. In other form, he returned to Dwaraka and he entered into Aprakat Lila of Lord Krishna. He is there in Dwaraka as an eternal associate of Lord Krishna in his Aprakat Lila. This is what is mentioned in the Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Your Grace. We have another question. It says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, what makes one repeatedly doing the same material sense gratification again and again, though one have experienced enough futility of material world? Example, the recent pandemic.
Because we are not exposed to higher level of happiness. So whatever is available, we think this is what it is all about. That's why whether it may be pandemic, it may be other kinds of distresses, other kind of problems, anything. The nature of the material world is apohanam. While going through misery, we make a plan that I will never do this again. But once the misery subsides, we'll do the same mistake again. Unfortunately, that is the problem. That's why Narada Muni says that we need to remind the people repeatedly. Unless until we are reminded repeatedly, we will not stay away from the bad things. That is what Srila Prabhupada says in each and every purport. In every purport, Prabhupada continuously says that we are not the body, we are the soul. Bhakti is the only means. Sense gratification is not the purpose of life, but bhakti is the only purpose of life. Because we cannot understand by hearing once. We need to be told again and again. That is what Prabhupada is doing. That is what Vyasadeva is doing in the Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Your Grace. With that, we come to the end of the question and answer session. Your Grace, we would once again, on behalf of Bhagavad Gita Academy, Kuala Lumpur, thank you so much for taking the time and the effort to enlighten us about today's topic. And we hope that we shall have your association again soon in our future classes. Your Grace, we have a few announcements to make. So if you would like to stay on, you're most welcome. But if you have other engagements, then we would understand you leaving the session at this point.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna, we have a few exciting announcements coming up. Tech team, if you could pull up the first poster for the Yatra. As we all know, the world is opening up and we are ready for yet another Yatra. The first Yatra that we would be organizing is the Sridham Mayapur Eka Chakra Yatra, which is scheduled in January, from the 20th of January to 27th of January 2023. Like you can say, it's not only the Mayapur Dham, but we are also going to be visiting Eka Chakra. And for those of us who do not know where Eka Chakra is, it's about 135 kilometers away from Mayapur. And it is, we are going to do a day journey on day 3 of our Yatra. And Eka Chakra is actually the birthplace of Lord Nityananda, who, as we all know, is a devotional manifestation of the Supreme Lord and is also the incarnation of Lord Balaram. So we are hoping that all of you are excited. For those of you who have already been to Mayapur, I'm sure we are all ready for a recharge of our energies through the wonderful energies that are there in the Dham. And for all of us, we've never been to Eka Chakra as a group, so that would be another experience of the Dham as well. We look forward to all of you joining us, and as you can see, there will be daily Hari Kirtan and Kathas. And for those of us who have gone for Yatras before, we already know that the Kathas are conducted by senior devotees who make time specially for our group to lead us through the Yatras, to tell us about the significance of why we are doing what we are doing, and to explain to us what we are seeing as well, other than spiritually charging us with newer Kathas. Of course, there will be senior devotees on this trip who will be there available for guidance of the newer devotees who are going to be joining us this time. The Yatra is managed by experienced managers, and we have comfortable accommodation in both Kolkata, where we make a short stop over on our way to Mayapur, and in Mayapur itself, where we have the guest houses from ISKCON. We have the option of sharing either 2 to a room or 4 to a room. If you're sharing 2 to a room, then the cost per head, excluding the flights, is 1,025 ringgit. If you're going to be sharing 4 to a room, then it'll be 950 ringgit a head, as all of you remember from previous Yatras. And for those of you who are going to join us for the first time, there is always sumptuous prasadam 3 times in a day. And of course, we will be traveling very comfortably in Volvo buses. This is only for the land travel, and land travel, accommodation, transportation is all included in the price that you are seeing on your screen. We will be sending this out along with a WhatsApp link for you to register with us. So please kindly note that this Yatra is only open to our own devotees who are attending the Bhagavatam class, the Wednesday class, and the beginners, intermediate and advanced classes across all languages. And we only have place for 100. So I suggest that you send us your registration via the WhatsApp that we will be sending to you. And We will get back to you with details of when we would require you to bank in and make a firm commitment of your plans with us. And that should be happening in the next 6 weeks sometime. But for now, we would just like to see how many of you would be interested in going. You already know the price that is going to be for. Please look up your flights. There's ample time to get good rates at the moment. AirAsia is already flying Kolkata on a few days in a week. And like we said, just for those of you who might want to immediately book your ticket, the 27th January return ticket is a 26th, 27th night flight. So please be careful when you are booking your flights. If you have any doubts, then please do reach out to either Rao Prabhu or myself, and we will walk you through what needs to be done. And like I said, this is only for people who are associated with Bhagavad Gita Academy, Kuala Lumpur. And for those of you who would like to invite friends who you think would enjoy this experience, all of you know that we are going to be starting a beginner's class on the 19th of June. And that would be an essential qualification for joining this yatra. Please note that we are not opening this yatra to people outside of BGAKL for now, and we only have 100 seats to begin with. So those are the announcements that I wanted to make. And with that, we actually come to the end of the session. And do reach out to us if you have any questions on what was announced today. And I would like to thank all of you. All glories to their Lordship, Sri Lakshmi Narayan. All glories to Sri Radha Madhav Ashta Sakhis. All glories to Sri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra. All glories to Sri Gauranitai. All glories to Sampradaya Acharyas. All glories to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. We will see you next Sunday again.